Welcome to your August State of the Industry. We are excited to be here with you and excited that you're here with us. We have a lot of guests to introduce, but before we introduce them, we're going to introduce ourselves because we have a lot of new faces. So I am Katie Hardman. I'm the Chief Opportunity Officer for the Experience Brokerage Network and the team leader of Keller Williams Sunset Corridor and Keller Williams Capital City. And I'm joined today by my co-host who brings all the flair, we decided this morning. Leslie, do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Leslie Hilbert. As Katie said, I'm the general manager of the Experience Brokerage Network, which of course is 4 amazing Keller Williams market centers here in the state of Oregon and 600 amazing Experience Brokerage Network Keller Williams agents from the north to the south of Oregon. So, and Katie, why is it that we introduce ourselves literally like every single month on this call?
People are probably like, okay, we've been here for years. We know who you are. It's because we have 21 new agents who have joined our brokerages and the Experience Brokerage Network since the last time that we got together. So we do have a lot of new faces, and we hope that they're all on the call today. So if there's a name that is new to you on this list or new to you in the Zoom room, send them a private message and just say welcome. I'm so glad you're here because we are honored to continue to grow and add amazing people to our organization, and we're proud. So thank you guys for being here. Now, before we introduce the rest of our guests, there are two things, I believe. Yes, that I want to put on your radar as we head into the end of the year, the fourth quarter, the final stretch of 2024. And I'm hoping that I have more announcements, but as of today, I have 2. And one is save the date. We told you this was coming. We heard your feedback that you wanted to do this again. So on September 29th, we are doing our second open house extravaganza of the year. And we are super excited because not only is the Experience Brokerage Network participating in this, but all of Keller Williams in Oregon and Vancouver, Washington will be participating in this. So we truly will hold, hopefully the goal is to hold open every Keller Williams listing in the state of Oregon on September 29th. So much more details to come from your local leadership team on this, but I just wanted to put it on your radar and say, save the date, plan on doing an open house, take listings, make sure you tell your sellers they need to be on the market by this time. If you don't have a listing, we will help coordinate open houses for you, but we are very excited. Open house extravaganza. Now, the second thing we are very, very excited about is preparing for the new year. It's important to prepare. So we are also excited to tell you that we are bringing business planning clinic with Rebecca Del Pozo to our network in 3 days, 3 locations. So November 5th, she will be in Medford, November 6th in Eugene, and then November 7th in Portland Metro. And again, we are participating with all of the Keller Williams in Oregon. So this is going to be not only a great event for your business, for planning purposes, but also to network with other Keller Williams agents across the state. So mark your calendars, whichever one sounds most appealing for you. If you want to travel really far, like you can cross the state and meet whole new people or stay local. But these are our 3 days for business planning this year. So yay, we're very excited. And Rebecca Del Pozo, I think I explained her as legit the last time I was giving this presentation, but she is she's a KWU master faculty. She's also part of the rewrite of Business Planning Clinic. So you're going to be getting the most up-to-date version of this class with all the new numbers from all the interviews that Gary and Jason and Jay do for the MREA book and all of that. So anyways, very excited to have these 2 things, and I'm hoping by this time next month, I have even more fun and exciting things to share with you. Okay. I have more fun and exciting things to share with you now too. So behind the scenes, your ALC and your network ALC have been working on something that we are very, very excited about. It's something that's going to be an enhancement of something you already get, and we get a lot of questions around. You guys know that you get an email every week about a TMO report, total market overview report, and they're stagnant PDFs, and we get a lot of requests for additional territories or additional areas, but they're kind of just PDFs that we get, and you get what you get. So we have been silently working with a new partner in the background that's going to give us way more features. And I'm not going to explain it because he is here to explain it to you, but we are excited to announce that we have partnered with Area Pro. We have Sean here from Area Pro, one of the founders of this organization, the creators of this platform, to share with you what you're getting and how much cooler it is than what you already have. So Sean, thank you for being here, and I'm going to give you the stage.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. Thanks for the introduction. Like Katie said, I'm Sean Anderson, and I've got my partner here, John Parker's on the call as well. He may chime in occasionally if we have questions. And I'm going to share, if that's okay, Katie, I'll share my screen at some point after I introduce myself. Just so you guys understand, have a little bit of background on who I am. I live in Southeast Idaho, so in a town called Idaho Falls. It's on the opposite side of the state as Boise. We're about 3 hours north of Salt Lake City. My business partner in real estate, I've been selling houses for 18 years. And for 13 of those years, I was competing head to head against Mike Hicks. And that was kind of a futile competition. He's a hard guy to compete against. So 5 years ago, we went to lunch with a third partner and decided, what could this look like if we partnered together and did this together? So we formed Anderson Hicks 5 years ago, and it has been an awesome ride since then. Mike's an amazing human being, and he's been really fun to work with. And a couple of years ago, we decided we wanted to get into the technology space. I've always been a data guy. I've been downloading MLS data from our MLS every week for 18 years. And I have probably the country's largest Excel spreadsheet of data just because I'm a nerd. And so we would generate reports out of that weekly and distribute them to our agents. And it's what they would use in their consultations to guide their clients to those decisions. And a couple of years ago, we said, okay, I'm not really a technology guy by nature. I mean, I understand it like most of us here, business owners at that surface level, but I'm not an engineer. And John Parker's been a friend of mine for 20 years, and we brought him in 2 years ago. He partnered with us on this project, and we said, let's take this Excel database and two things. Number one, let's create an application in the cloud that is sexy and that is interactive and that we can sit with clients and use in a way that would reflect who we are as professionals. And that's how Area Pro was born. And so we have a few other partners in this project. One of them you know very well. Chris Suarez is one of our partners in this project, and so is Ben Kinney, and they've helped us get this thing launched. So this is a tool that was built by professionals like yourselves, as well as some of the best technology engineers in the country. So a couple personal things about me. My passions. I have several passions in life. My family. Number one, I have 4 beautiful kids. One of them just left home. She's in Brazil right now, serving a mission for our church. And then I have a senior in high school and 2 smaller kids, and then an amazing wife. So family and God are number one for us. And then a couple other things I love. I have a saltwater fish tank. 3 years ago, I decided to get into saltwater fish, and I knew nothing about them. And that is way more time consuming and way more expensive than I ever knew. In fact, I told my wife last night, if a buyer came along, I may bite. So if anybody wants to drive to Idaho and haul a fish tank home, let me know. And I love yard work too. I don't know why, but I just love being in my yard. So that's me. So I'm going to jump into the tool right now, and I'll show you. This is just kind of a brief overview. If you go to our website and look at the plans and pricing, this is not a cheap tool. It's been very expensive to build. And it's very expensive to maintain the syndications with all of the MLSs across the country. But we've been working for the last four months to figure out how we could offer this to your entire network. And there's a lot of different discussions in that. But at the end of the day, Experience is fronting the cost of this for all of you guys to have at no cost. So we're excited. It's in full transparency. It's about 6 months old. So it's come a long ways in that 6 months, but there's still ways for us to go. And so that's one of the exciting things about partnering with you guys is we want your feedback. We want to know how to continue to, and we believe it's already the best tool in the industry, but we want to continue to enhance it. And so without any more delay, let me just share Area Pro with you. This is the homepage, and this is a list of areas. And so what we did is we sat down and decided, we know there are thousands of data points that you can track, but we sat down and just said, okay, what are the key data points that really need to be in front of a buyer or seller to make decisions? And really, that's what this is all about. When it comes to us as experts and professionals, Our job is not to make decisions for buyers and sellers, as you know. Our job, I like to say, sometimes our job is to protect buyers and sellers from themselves, because if they don't have data and facts, they're going to make decisions based on emotions. And oftentimes buyers and sellers' emotions will lead them astray in the process. And so that's where we come in as experts. And it's our responsibility to share with them just the right amount of data, not too much so that they get overwhelmed, and not enough so that they don't, that they don't actually have a full picture, but share with them the right data points at the right time so that they can make decisions for themselves that are right for them. So we've established the 14 most critical data points. I'm just going to grab one of these areas. We're starting to build out all of the areas that you currently have given to you in a weekly report. And so there's just a few. I'm just going to grab, I know we have a broad audience in a lot of different locations here, but I'm just going to jump into this Sunset 141 area. And this is coming from the MLS. We're pulling data every single night. So this is very, very close to real time. So if you load a listing today, it's not going to show up till tomorrow because we want a full data set every day, but it's the most current data in the industry for the reporting. And so we look at these numbers here. In this area, there are 95 active listings, and right now they're selling 16 per month. And so that equates to a 6.1 month supply of inventory, which is a balanced market, as you guys know. It's starting actually to trend towards a buyer's market. We do this a lot. We mastermind with a lot of different agents, and so there's definitely a question as to where is the tipping point from a seller's market to a buyer's market. And we don't have time today to get into this. We'll do additional trainings with your market centers. We do workshops every Wednesday where we can dive deep on these conversations and train around these data points. But when I first got in the industry, I was taught 6 is the tipping point. Under 6 is a seller's market. Above 6 is a buyer's market. I think there's a range, of course, where there's a balanced market. I would say in our area, between 4 and 5 is the balanced market, and above 5 it starts to feel like a buyer's market where they have more leverage. But that's just my opinion. But these are the 14 data points. So I shared with you a couple of those. Days on market for this active bucket of listings, the average is 83 in this particular market. And there are 38 pendings. And this pending ratio is a great stat. That tells us if we were to drive around this area and count all the real estate signs, what percentage of them would have a sold rider on them. And that's a very early indicator. It's kind of a leading indicator of what's happening in a market. If that number starts shifting up, then we know that the inventory is going to start to dry up, and that month's supply of inventory is going to come down, and therefore prices are probably going to go up. If that pending ratio gets really low, then it's the opposite is true. It means fewer properties are going under contract, and therefore we might see an inflation in that month's supply of inventory. So we have 93 solds. If we divide that by 6, when you're doing the math here to create this, you don't want to just look back 1 month, because 1 month never sets a trend. So we gave you the option to either look at a 3-month calculation. So if we look back 3 months, that actually didn't change in this case. It's held steady. So it's still a 6.1 month supply, just looking at the last 3 months of sales. And then this is obviously a very critical stat that can guide conversations with your clients that are making offers or clients that are receiving offers. What can they expect as far as how close to ask price they can get? And now, of course, an average just represents one number out of 100. But it still gives them a reference point to know that if they're priced well enough to get an offer, then they're probably going to be able to stay pretty close to ask price. There is a journey here of price reductions, though. This is kind of interesting, and this is another leading indicator. We see the average. If you look at all 47 closed properties in the last 90 days, the average sold price is $337, the average original list price is $337, and the average final list price is $328. So there's a 2.5% journey from start to final, and then once they get down to a price that's going to generate an offer, they're getting pretty close to ask price. So, and I know I'm talking really fast because I want to make sure we leave time for some of the other people on this call. But I'll just show you a couple other really powerful things about this tool and that set us apart. We can get really specific on price ranges. Let me change areas here and go to a larger area. Let's go to Douglas County. So here in Douglas County, we have 458 actives and selling 118 a month. And so there's a little bit of shorter supply there. But let's start drilling into price range, because this is where it gets really powerful. If I'm sitting with somebody and I tell them we have a 3.89 month supply or 3.9 month supply of inventory in their county, but I don't go all the way to their price point, then I might be leaving information on the table, because if we jump above 500,000, look at that. So they're no longer, if you own a house above 500,000 in Douglas County, even though the rest of the county's in a seller's market, you're actually in a buyer's market. And if we trend even higher, if we get above 6, we get above 9, then there's a 10-month supply. And that's really critical, because that's going to influence where they price their house. So at Anderson Hicks, we use this product in every buyer consultation, every seller consultation. I personally do it with an iPad. I used to carry a book of those Excel reports I was telling you about. Now I use an iPad. I take it into every listing presentation. I let the client click around and explore. In here, they can explore different price points. We can change and see what trends we want to look at. We go back 6 months on our trends. We can see the distribution of pending sales and where they fall. And this is one of those things. Not only does it educate your clients, but it also makes you look like a professional. This is you showing up to a listing appointment using the latest technology and a tool that reflects you as a professional. And then if you just want to show just across the board all of the price ranges, this is familiar with the product that you're currently seeing. We call this the REMO, the Real Estate Market Overview. It's what we've been, this is kind of where this project started, was a chart like that we've been distributing to our agents for 15 years. And so you can drill in here and get really specific on this price point. And then if I click here to look at that, then that goes back. And if I want to go back to the overview, that selection is retained and it's remembered as I go there. So a couple really exciting advantages that we offer. Number one, the interactivity. Number two, just the technology that we're using and how quick this is to dive into specific price ranges, but also areas. So if we go to manage areas, you experience, originally we talked about just creating the same areas that you're getting, fixing those areas and basically leaving you with those. But in the 9th inning, we decided to open this up and let you, every one of you, create any area that you want to create, and it shows up just in your user profile. So in the next couple of days, you're all going to get invites to this. It will cost you nothing. You can accept that invite in your email. You can create your user account. And by then, we'll have all of the team areas built out that you're used to seeing. And then you'll also have the ability to go in and create an area. And this is how easy this is. Really fast. You can go to Portland Regional. Katie, throw out a county that's in Portland Regional. Is Clark County in Portland?
Let's do Washington County.
Washington County?
Yeah.
Okay. So right there, we can see that there are 1,618 active listings. Looks like I already have that area built, but we can call this, let's just look at, well, we'll just create that area right now. And now all of a sudden in a few seconds, you have that. Now you could do this. It'll take us a second to generate this. I need a zip code inside Washington County.
97229.
97229. Okay, let's say we want to build an area. This is where this thing gets really, really powerful. You can slice up these areas however you want to do it. This is going to create an area with Washington County minus anything that's sitting in that zip code. Maybe we feel like that zip code throws that area off because it's either really luxurious or lower prices, and we think it's going to throw it off for whatever reason. We can build that area. We can call it Washington County. If I could type excluding 97229, and I can save that. I could even mark it as a favorite in the process. Now that's going to take a second to generate. The first time you build an area, expect about 30 to 45 seconds. That's the only time you'll ever wait for that area. From then on, the minute you click it, it's instantly retrievable because we're refreshing data every night. So when I'm building an area, I usually do it in my office before I go. And most of the time, the areas that I have service my appointments. So it's not very often now that I've been using this tool for a while that I have to build new areas. So I know I'm running short on time and I'm talking really fast, and I bet we have tons of questions. We're going to need to schedule maybe a follow-up, Katie, where we can get, we can just do an open mic forum where everyone in the network can just jump on and ask questions, and we can do training. So we will set those up. You've got favorites, you can favorite there. So Katie, what did I leave out that you would add? And I'm going to stop long enough to inhale, and then we'll go from there.
I love it. So I think what we wanted you to hear today is, one, we are excited to be in business with Sean and John and the whole Area Pro team, and that what you had was a static report, and what you're getting is something so much bigger. It's customizable, there's more data, it's more up to date. So there's so much in here. And Aubrey, you said, are we going to get training on this? Yes, I want to tell you guys, this was the announcement, and we're excited that all 60 of you were on the call, and everybody in your market center watching along. We're glad you're here to be a part of the announcement, and there's a little bit of like excitement with that, right? The Area Pro team is going to send out a like a welcome, right, Sean? Like a activation email. So expect
Yes.
that in the next couple days. But what we'll really do is Sean and the team will be zooming into your local all partners meeting or team meeting and in September, and we will be rolling it out and asking questions then, and getting training on the calendar. And like Sean said, they do a class every Wednesday, so there's a lot more to come. We just wanted you to be excited as we are about this, and know that we are constantly looking for great people like Sean to work with. So thank you, Sean. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of an extension of our team.
Yeah, thank
More to
you.
come. Yes.
Honored. Appreciate it.
And John, we didn't get to talk to you, but I'm glad you're here too. Thank you for being here. Hello. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit to a face that is familiar, but we're always excited to have him back because he brings a wealth of knowledge in our world. And I think it's timely that we bring Jesse back from Envoy to talk about what's going on in the mortgage world. I know we get your newsletter every Monday, but Jesse, hi, welcome. Glad
Hi,
you're here, friend.
thank you.
And what's going on in your world? Give us a mortgage update.
Wow, what's not going on in our world, right? Interest rates are up, interest rates are down. Buyer applications were down 20-30% in June and then up in July. So I'm going to go through some of this and hopefully help you contextualize what's happening in the market to improve your buyer and seller conversations. Before I do that, the tool that Sean built that you just got a preview of is one of the best I've ever seen. I am a data wonk super nerd. I have had a subscription to a tool similar to that for many, many years, and know personally the owner and of a competitive tool, and this is way better. So you guys are in luck, and I'm super thrilled that we got to see that today. And I would encourage you to take the time to learn it and use it as we enter this new market. Information is power, right? Which is kind of this overused statement. But you as an expert, how do I say this differently? Your expertise matters more now than ever. I have been saying this for 2 years, maybe going on 3 years on this call. But you guys, with all of the noise around the NAR stuff and buyer commission, right? The fact that we're running a run rate, Sean, somewhere 3.8 million transactions this year. You have to be better. You have to be the best. And being the best includes making, talking to the right people, talking to enough of them, right? And saying the right things. The saying the right thing is the most important component here. We assume that you all have the right level of activity, but being able to step in to a listing presentation or a buyer presentation with data that sets you up as the expert is really, really crucial. And that's why we send the Monday emails. That's why this tool is coming to you. You combine these two things together, right? Information about the market, localize that with Area Pro. Now you're nails. Nobody can beat you. Nobody can beat you. So that's kind of why we're here. For any of you that don't know me, I'm Jesse Passafiumi. I am the president of Envoy. Envoy is your preferred lending partner, although you may or may not have seen us. We're going to be more and more involved each and every day as we move forward. But our primary focus is to give you tools to win more deals, right? That's really it. We're an incredibly real estate agent aligned mortgage company. 94% of all of our transactions last month were purchase transactions. And this is what we do for a living, is work with real estate agents to help them understand what's going on in the market and align our product set with your needs specifically. So today, what I'm going to do is run through kind of how we're seeing the market. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how you should be thinking about financing. Okay. Probably should have given up some of my time for Sean based on the reaction to that call, but you will get more time with him, I am certain. Okay. So let's start with interest rates. What a strange roller coaster we've been on. Okay. We had like the shortest refi boom in history. Lasted about 2 days, right? Rates went down and then rates went back up. But there are a couple of key things I want to point out. Number one, we had a lot of great headlines, like the New York Times said rates have dropped. You need to leverage that, right? I'm going to show you what's happening with buyer demand in a minute. But here's what I want you to look at. On a month-over-month basis, rates are down about 0.25%. Okay, that's good news. So rates are in fact trending down. Look at the 1 year mark, right? 0.75%. From the high point here, 6.34 is the low that we've seen this year, but the high was 8.03. Okay, so you may have seen the headlines today that they revised the jobs number for the last 12 months, right? And they basically removed about 1 million jobs from the report. Here's what we're looking at for interest rates. You're going to just hear a lot of noise. This Friday, the chairman of the Federal Open Market Commission, Jerome Powell, is going to speak, okay, at the Jackson Hole Symposium. We do expect the Fed to lower interest rates in September. Okay, that is the expectation of the market based on the data we have sitting in front of us. Here's the trick for your clients. That does not necessarily mean mortgage rates drop. A lot of the expectation of lowering rates is already built into the market. Okay, so we may or may not see a bit of a drop between now and mid-September when the Fed makes their decision. But what we want to do is we want to help buyers understand that rates are better today than they were yesterday. And rates have improved pretty significantly. I mean, you were sitting at 7.8%, 8%, in May. So things are in pretty good shape. We always love taking advantage of today's market, not waiting for tomorrow. Okay, so I'm gonna run through a couple of things. Yeah, FHA 6.1, not bad at all. Remember the trick with FHA is that you have your mandatory mortgage insurance premium. So when we look at your individual transactions, right, we determine that conventional might make more sense in the long run because the mortgage insurance premium is pretty expensive. But we love FHA transactions. VA doing a lot of VA today as well, which is in pretty good shape. VA is probably the deal right now. If you have a veteran, always direct them to a VA loan. And as real estate agents, you should be thinking about that too. And VAs have had a bad rap, but they're great loans and we get them done quickly. No MI for VA, true fact. Okay. Next up, I need to watch my time too. This is a slide that I've been using here, and my headline is kind of silly. Finally, a buyer-ish market. This is contextually, and this is what Sean's tool can help you understand in your local market, right? So I want you to, this is national. But here's what's happened since April. Look at the inventory data nationally. We've gone from 520,000 units nationally to 698,000 listings, active listings. That's standing inventory, okay? Inventory's gone up quite a bit. We're sitting 42, 43% above last year at this time, okay? So what does that mean? More supply, more options, okay? And then look what's happened with interest rates. It's been some bounces up and down, but interest rates have come down. It's a really unique time. And I know I've told you this before, but my friends make fun of me because it's always a good time to buy a house. It's just a matter of why, right? Today's why is really interesting. We have a downtrending rate environment and we still have inventory climbing. What's going to happen is that the number of buyers entering the market are going to catch up, okay? And inventory will plateau and then start coming down, prices start going up. So we really are at a unique moment. This moment lasts another 60, 90 days, most likely, right? Before kind of the market catches up. And I'll show you some data there. And by the way, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'm able to watch that. Yeah, it's the sweet spot. I really feel like it's a sweet spot. People ask me why is now a good time to buy a home. I just pull this up and go, I don't know. There's more inventory than we've had in many years, several years, and interest rates have finally started dropping for real. So why wouldn't you buy now? Like more choice, more options. And I know your market is unique. That's why understanding what inventory is done in your market and what price pressures you have is really, really important. Matthew wants to know if I'm a cat or a dog person. I have a 62-pound Vizsla at home that's 2.5 years old. That's a total terrorist, and I love him very much. And I got him out this morning for about a 4-mile run, and I'll get him out tonight for about a 4-mile run. So it's keeping me fit. All right. What do lower interest rates mean for your buyers? This is another, I just want you can write this down, okay? And this is a great kind of rule of thumb for you and your buyers. For every 1% drop in interest rates, you can increase your buying power or lower your payment by 10%. Okay, the math isn't exactly perfectly on top of that, but it's close enough, right? When we round. So that's what you want to write down. For every 1% drop in interest rates, increase your buying power or decrease your payment by 10%. What does that mean for you? That means that as rates, and they're improving a little bit today, actually, which is good news. What that means is that every single buyer lead you generated in February, March, April, May, that was sitting at 7.5, close to 8%, their buying power increased 10%. If they qualified for a $500,000 house, they can buy a house for $550,000, or their payment's going to drop by 10. That's a huge shift. That is a reason and excuse to pick up the phone and call your previous buyer leads, right? To re-engage your buyers. I hired a young man out of Phoenix, Arizona. He is picking up the phone and calling leads basically that were generated from September of last year to May 1st that have not pulled through yet, that came into our mortgage system. It's generating 4 new applications a day. We are reactivating leads, people that had blown us off, people that said they weren't going to buy. So do not sleep on your previous views. Anybody still clicking on your IDX feed? Anyone still clicking on houses? You have to re-engage them. This is a pretty cool chart. I think, when rates drop, when we get to 6%, if we do, versus 8%, we're talking about a $550,000 house versus a $450,000 house for the same payment. So it really does impact the market. It really does impact the market. So it's important you tee into that. Next thing, what happens when rates drop? Do you remember that first chart I showed you? It was like, cool, rates going down, inventory going up. Look at what happened. This is a week over week increase or decrease in buyer applications, loan applications. Last week, we had the largest single increase in purchase applications that we have seen this year, 16.8%. Previous week was about 6-7%. So more buyers are coming into the market. Do not miss this window as an agent. Do not miss this window as an agent, right? Anybody that you've talked to or may have been interested now can turn into an active buyer. It really is a pretty unique time. So the other thing that's happening here for your buyers, if you have somebody that's been shopping for a house and they're thinking, oh, market's going to collapse, rates are going to come down, I'm going to hang out and wait. This should be a chart that you show them. Hanging out and waiting means that there are going to be hundreds of additional buyers walking through the same open house on a Saturday in the coming months. Does that make sense? It's really a supply and demand question. So the more rates drop, the more buyers come into the market. So if you have somebody shopping now, we're encouraging them, find a house, negotiate a great deal. Your ability to negotiate could diminish. And I know we're kind of fighting seasonality a little bit, like normal seasonality, right? In the winter, things slow down. Inventory decreases, number of price cuts increase. But I will tell you what, there's one thing that I have found since I started doing this in 1996 that counteracts seasonality, and that's interest rate changes. So we could see a pretty strong winter, and I mean, we're manifesting that. So you manifest that for yourself by communicating with your buyers. Okay. So really want you to focus on what's happening. Now for your sellers, they need to be careful. Okay. So don't take this uptick in buyer activity as permission to overprice a house, right? Because remember that first slide, remember inventory? Inventory is still pretty high. So it's going to take a while for this buyer activity to catch up. Again, you should be looking at Sean's tool in your specific market to see how many days homes are sitting on the market. I am in Northern California, and we've got a couple of like the most bomb-proof East Bay tech markets where the average days on market just clicked over 30 for the first time in like 8 years. Okay. So your sellers need to use every tool in the toolbox to make sure that they're taking advantage of this moment as well and get their home sold. Okay. Because there could be some natural price softening coming for them. So kind of two groups, two different stories. But the main story for buyers is we'll see a lot more buyers coming to the market. I expect this number to be up again. And remember, this is week over week, right? So we have, I mean, there's a huge influx. We had the largest Envoy had the largest number of new applications created in the last 2 years last week. Good news. I'm excited. I mean, it means we're going to have a great fall. But it also means that there's going to be more people walking through open houses and making offers on properties. Okay. All right. Next thing, understand the cost of waiting. And I've done a bunch of cost of waiting slides for this group before. I would like to let you know that Envoy has launched our cost of waiting calculator on our website. So I'm going to put that link in the chat. This is one of my favorite tools to use with potential buyers that think they're going to wait for rates to drop. They're waiting for rates to drop. They're waiting for home values to drop. They're waiting for something. John Burns Research and Consulting does a home buyer, home seller sentiment index every single month. The month of July, they created the lowest reading in history. Only 14% of potential buyers thought it was a good time to buy. So that's what you're up against when you're picking up the phone and making a call, right? When you're talking to a buyer lead, there's just so much economic uncertainty right now. It's absolutely wild. The reality is far different. So I want you to make sure you have the right data. So here's the deal with the cost of waiting. In this scenario, $500,000 purchase price, 10% down payment, 7.25% interest rate. I need to adjust my slide. Things have dropped since I put this together the first time. 1.25% average fees. If we have 6% home price appreciation and interest rates drop by 1.5. So this basically means you won the lottery on interest rates, right? But the home value goes up. You've lost $33,000 in additional down payment and equity. And the time it takes to recapture that with your lower monthly payment is 10 years. So you save some money each month, right? If you look at your loan payment, you save $286 a month. Congratulations. Covers a couple utility bills. But what you've lost is $33,000 in equity and additional down payment. So this is a really compelling case. And you can adjust these numbers based on your market. That's the interesting thing. What does appreciation look like? Is it closer to 4% in your market? And we're at a weird spot right now. Like national numbers don't make any sense, right? Because we're seeing huge drops in values in Miami and places like Austin, Texas. But we're seeing really, really strong valuation in your market, places like Connecticut and the Eastern Seaboard. So every market is different. Use your data, but helping your clients understand the cost of waiting is crucial. So I encourage everyone just jump on the calculator, make sure you understand it, because that's the story that we're telling. So, all right, I'm doing well on time here. I'm not going too far over. Here's the way the market's shaping up right now. Inventory is up. Interest rates are trending down. We hope that continues, but Hope isn't really a strategy. But we believe that we are in a moment where they'll be at least stable, potentially trending down. Okay. That brings more buyers into the market, urgency around current buyers, opportunity to re-engage any buyer you've dealt with in the past. Okay. And go re-engage them hard. I mean, now's a great time. The story has changed, right? I love that when I can call a prospect and say, whew, got good news. Last time we talked, you said you weren't interested in buying a house. Let me tell you exactly what's changed since then. Might shift your thinking a little bit. Last thing I want to talk about, if people are waiting for rates to drop, right? Because there's a lot of noise and everyone's talking about the Fed's going to lower rates. Remember, when they lower rates, that does not mean that interest rates are going to drop, mortgage rates. Okay. We have a rate saver program. So we're running, 6.5-ish today. Our rate saver program, we pay for it, and it actually lowers your first year interest rate by 1%, right? So if someone gives you a little pushback on rates, I'd love for you to say, well, listen, here's the deal. There's some tools we have, right? We can negotiate a seller credit to buy your rate down, which may or may not make sense. You need to talk to your loan officer. But we have a rate saver product. Our preferred lending partner has a rate saver, and they can actually lower your interest rate for the first year. That gives us an opportunity to see what rates are going to do. Worst case scenario, your rate goes up after a year to the note rate, right? To 6.5. It's not an adjustable rate mortgage. And you end up at 6.5 and we're in good shape. So if rates go to 8, you got a great rate. If rates go down to 5%, the opportunity will exist for you to potentially refinance if you qualify and it makes sense for you. So it's a good tool. Like we do quite a few of these. We certainly quote a lot of them. We certainly talk about it. But the Rate Saver 1.0 buy down is a good tool right now where people have some interest rate uncertainty. Let's grab them, get them into the market to buy, and then help them lower their basically lower their payment by a couple $100 a month for the first year, which is always helpful. Okay. So a couple things on an action plan. I've said this like 14 times, I'm sorry, but re-engage your buyers, please. I mean, you guys, there is gold there, right? Anybody that's looked at a house on your website, they need a phone call. They need to understand what's going on in the market. Create constructive urgency. And when I say constructive urgency, I don't like false urgency, right? It's not like you have to buy now, prices are going to go up. But we want to use education. You want to use the tools you have at your disposal to educate your buyers on why now is a good time to buy. Cost of waiting, local market analysis. Let's figure out what could happen if you wait. Okay, what are the potential scenarios if you wait? And I have to tell you, there are no scenarios really where waiting makes sense in this market. Okay, we don't believe, and I know in your market especially, home values aren't going to drop by 20 or 30%. That's just not possible because of inventory, because of the number of the few number of transactions we had over the last couple of years. So any like 2008 people that still exist, you just need to shut those down. And then as rates drop, I mean, you saw what happened. Rates dropped just a little bit for 2 days and we ended up with 17% more buyers, right? There's so much pent up buyer demand that waiting doesn't make sense. And then make sure your sellers are properly motivated. One of the tools I didn't talk about is if you're thinking about making a price adjustment on a property that's been on the market for a bit, you should consider offering a seller concession for a temporary buy down. And I would love to talk to you about that if you need information. But instead of lowering your price by $15,000, we can lower the starting interest rate and actually advertise a 2% lower starting interest rate. So I love where we are in the market today. And I'm super fired up I very rarely am I fired up for the fall and winter. Normally I'm panicky. No panic. I mean, this feels really, really good right now. It's just a matter of us having the right activity. So I think we're going to have one of the strongest fall and winters that we've had in many, many years in our business, but we have to go grab it and we have to educate people because the national noise is ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. It's sky is falling, recession, all this stuff. Recession is localized. Recession impacts, if we end up in a recession, it impacts individuals, not markets, right? It actually improves markets for savvy buyers. So we need to stay above the national noise and make sure people understand what's happening today in the market. Okay. And we want to act when other people are getting nervous or taking their foot off the gas. And that's really what the next couple months is about. Okay. That's it for me.
Did you guys feel how calm Jesse was through that? Like, no panic. We got this. Envoy's got our partners. They'll help us. You got great tools. So thank you, Jesse, for being here, and thank you for sharing this information. And we will get the calculator out and all of Jesse's information and Envoy's information out in the recap. And I want to end today kind of how we started, which I'm going to bring up my slides, because I started by saying thank you for allowing us to push back a week, because last week was mega camp and we had one of our own on stage, and I am so proud, but also like we should all be proud, because our very own Aubrey Martin was on the mega camp stage last week. And so we thought, why not hear from her from the stage to our stage, much smaller stage. So this is easy compared to the 6,000 that she was in front of last week. But Aubrey, congratulations, and thank you for agreeing to be on our stage today. We're glad you're here.
Thanks for the opportunity. As always, Keller Williams is all about opportunity for sure.
That's right. And that's what we're going to talk about. So I just wanted to spend the last couple of minutes talking with Aubrey. And if you have questions for Aubrey, obviously let's get her answers to those too. But how you've gone from starting your business to ending up on the mega camp stage, and earlier this year you were on the family reunion stage. So how has your business progressed? But for those who don't know you, maybe give the short, like, who is Aubrey Martin? Like, what does Martin Family Real Estate Group look like today?
Yeah, so I've been with KW for 6 years, and actually Mega Camp was my very first event that I went to. I was not with Keller Williams at that time. I was a guest, and it sort of blew me away. And I joined up with Leslie. Like 3 weeks later, I was over at KW Sunset Quarter. So I had been in real estate about a year at that point as an individual agent, hopped over to a team for a quick second, and then realized that my true calling is as a solo agent with a whole lot of leverage. So it's myself. My husband, Dan, is my director of operations and does all of my photography and marketing and good stuff. I partner with a fabulous agent who's another solo agent who's on the call right now, Crystal McKim. Crystal does a lot of my showings and sits inspections, and just as kind of a crystal of all trades. I have an in-house transaction coordinator, Emily Henderson at Sunset Quarter, who handles all my listings and transactions. And then, during the pandemic, my children were really young. I know a lot of you guys have kids as well. We just couldn't figure out how to be sort of in high production as well as being a mom, and decided to bring the kids into the family business. So now they help with marketing and events, and come to me sometimes on showings and all sorts of good stuff. So it's really me with a lot of leverage. And I last year, 2023, closed 50 units at around 27 million in volume. I tend to do anywhere between 50 and 75, depending on the year. This year, actually, I've only got 16 spots left because I cut off at 60 this year as far as how many families I'll serve. So I have 16 spots left, and I expect to hit 60 this year.
I love that. And as Jason Abrams would say, it's not average agent camp, it's mega agent camp. So you have to have a big business in order to get to this level or to speak at this level. So I just, like, for context, where does your business come from? Like, where do you concentrate to get to 50 or 60 or 75 units? Like, where does that come from for you?
So it's changed over time. And I think the legs of lead generation that are best are the ones that you'll actually do and don't hate. And for me, that's networking. I do networking at a really, really high level through my BNI, which is a business networking group, and through an early on group called MOB, which was mother-owned businesses. So I'm very sort of committed to networking and meeting with people on a regular basis. In the very beginning, of course, I did open houses like a fiend. I did like 17 open houses a month or something crazy like that. And I really loved open houses, and I still do from time to time, but for me, the return on investment wasn't there, and I wanted to focus my energy more in really developing these relationships with my service provider partners. And for me, that is mostly women in service industry. That's sort of my niche. My general contractors, my window washers, my movers, these are all for the most part women-owned businesses. So I met with these folks very early on in my career just to meet them for tea, which is what I'm talking to Jay about right at the second, is on that slide. That's what we're talking about, is meeting women in service industries for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just to find out a little bit about their business, who they're looking for, and how I could promote them. And I think really the consistent cross promotion of my vendors has been a huge piece of my business. Jason Abrams asked me to write down where all my business was coming from. And Katie, I CC'd you on that too. For the last, I think I've closed 34 transactions this year so far, and where they're all coming from. And literally 100% was referral, either from past clients who are buying or selling again, from past clients who are referring their friends, or from service providers, accountants, my professional title. I've closed with title reps before. So it's really a matter of really nurturing those relationships on a regular basis. And it culminates, as you know, you've been to my gratitude dinner, which is every February or March. And it really is just an opportunity to thank all of these vendors who have done, an incredible job at making me honestly look good and take care of my clients so well. And we usually have between 80 and 100 people there. For that, it's also an opportunity for those vendors to talk to each other and start doing business with each other, with this idea that we could create our own microeconomy without really having to worry so much about what's going on out there, because we're all using and recommending each other. And honestly, Katie, what I said to Jay at this point as well is that this is not a gimmick. Whatever leg of lead generation you have, make sure that it is not a gimmick. I'm fully invested in these partners. I know their children's names. I know when they've been, at theater camp. Like, these people are important to me. I want them to do well. I'm invested in their business. They're my friends. I want to help put food on their table. So it's not a like lead generation for me. It's really just wanting to constantly support and uplift other people, like, truly.
I love that. And you had said, like, picking the thing you don't hate, which is one thing, but you also like have grown to like really love these people
Yeah,
in
I
the
do.
process.
Yeah, I do. And I think, the reason why I get so many referrals back from them too is that they are invested in my family as well. Everybody in the service industry knows 5 million real estate agents. I mean, you turn around and you can hit many of us with a stick. But the thing is that you have to really invest in those relationships and really show up. So my legs of lead generation really are really the networking. I do a lot of events, both with these service providers, like for the gratitude dinner, but also client events as well. But during those client events, I also give an opportunity for these service providers to also sponsor. And so this way, they're always in front of my people on a constant basis. For the gratitude dinner, I don't do sponsorships at all, because I just think it's kind of icky to ask people that I'm thanking to also pay for things. So that's an event that I actually cover completely. But from the catering to the flowers to the gifts to everything I've got at that gratitude dinner are all past clients and all my service provider partners. So we always are keeping it in-house, and it doesn't take much. If, for those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, you'll see that I thank every single person that had anything to do with any listing or any transaction that I have. I am tagging them. I'm constantly cross-promoting them, and it doesn't take much to do that, and it's free, and it shows them that you're really invested in their business as well.
It's one thing to be a niche, but it's almost become like who you are at this point. Like, it's what you do, but it's who you are as Martin Family Real Estate Group. To focus so heavily on every aspect of bringing value to this community and the reciprocity that happens there.
It is from, just from not just to my clients. I have a directories of all of these service providers that I give to anybody in the community that wants it. When someone's looking for carpet cleaning and they own a house, so, they, even if they have a real estate agent already, I refer my real estate clients to blah, 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 and I tag them, right? Like it takes 2 seconds of your time. It shows the community, number one, that you have the best people, that you're the resource for all of the things. And it shows your provider partners that they're constantly at the top of mind. I know, one of the things this is the reason I got to the stage for Mega Camp is because Jay Papasan put out this call for people that were in the one thing group of like, let's talk about what your one thing is. And so I interviewed with him, and that's, I think, how I got on the stage. There's a lot of sort of inner workings at KW that I do not understand, conversations that happen that I do not know about. I'm sure that Katie and Leslie have something to do with all of this too, their little Wizard of Oz situation going on back there. But I can tell you that I started by just being on these panels just in the market center, right? Like that's how it started, was sort of having those conversations. And then I got my big break, I feel like, honestly, was with James Shaw on Pivot, in the Pivot community. If you're not part of that, you should be. He interviewed me back in 2020 about sort of what my structure looks like, and also kind of what I was doing about these vendor provider partners. And he's interviewed me a couple of times. I've been interviewed by Jay, by Jason, Mr. Patel, who I love. And just, I don't even exactly know how all of a sudden I became on the radar at KWRI, except that I put it out there like, hey, I used to be a high school teacher. I love to be of service. I love to educate. What can I do to get in front of more people? And once I think you put yourself out there, I know I was with KWYP. Katya had asked me to speak at one point. Whenever I can be of service to the local, regional, or national markets, Northwest region, KW is fantastic. Bruce Hardy's team is fantastic about giving me opportunities as well. This one was a scary one, but everything else after this should be fine. Fine.
And Aubrey, you said you don't know how you've gotten these opportunities. I do. It's who you are. And I think that to point out a couple things in what you said were, well, one, like you're coming from contribution, which is part of you as a human, and it's part of Keller Williams culture. So you show up for training. Like you were paying attention to Jay's one thing group to raise your hand to be like, oh, I want to learn more. And you were on Pivot Shift Ahead because you wanted to learn and grow and learn from those people. And you go to the Northwest Region Masterminds, you go to Mega Camp, and so not only are you there to be a student, but then you say yes, you give back. You do that in the market center. You did that with KWYP. You did that by being on podcasts. And so I would say, like, one, you're a student and you're true to the KW culture. Ooh, that's lovely. And you've said yes, and saying yes to one thing has gotten you into the next room, and that's gotten you in conversation with this person. This person saw you on stage, so they're talking about you over here. So I think that one, it's who you are, and also just saying yes, truly.
Well, and I think, and Jordan just said showing up, I think this is what Gary talks about all the time. You just got to show up and put in the work, whether it's with your clients or on stage or wherever it is. Like you can't fake it. You actually have to be there and be invested.
Yeah. So thank you for being a part of our organization. Thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for being a pillar of KW for all of KW, and especially for us. I wanted to make sure that everybody got to hear from you today. We will get your information out in the wrap up as well. If anybody has additional questions or that you want to say yes to anything else. But thank you truly for being here today. Thank you for everybody for joining us today. I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday, and we will see you next month at a regular time. So happy Wednesday, everyone.